Don't ever hesitate to ask a question or bring up a topic for discussion, because it's one of the easiest ways to gain knowledge. Let someone else make the mistakes so you don't have to, and then gain their experience. And the more information you have, the better off you'll be. So I've received some great comments lately, and if you got a couple of minutes, I'd like to share them with you. And who knows, one of the questions might be something you need or something you've always wanted to ask about. Also, if you're wondering what's going on with this lawnmower, turns out it's leaking a lot of fuel, but that's the least of its problems. I'll try and diagnose the problem and fix the leak in the background while we address some of the concerns. The first concern has to do with money, specifically what a Honda lawnmower would sell for. Now this is something I don't typically do in the videos, and it's done on purpose. It's sort of like asking a good friend for a loan. You can do it, but it might test your relationship with them. In this case, I specify a price range for the mower, but there's going to be some who don't agree with me, which is perfectly fine. Let's put it this way, it's sort of like selling a used vehicle. You can ask whatever you want for it, but most buyers may not agree with it. You're hoping to find someone who views the vehicle as special enough to ask such a price for it. So here's the deal. If I came across an older Honda lawnmower that I really wanted, then yes, I'd probably pay way too much for it, but that doesn't mean you should too. The next concern has to do with what my preferences were, and this one was specifically about the brand of leaf blower that I like. Now, I don't typically shy away from telling you what I think, but if I can, I'll try and not push my brands onto you. But just like anyone else, I have my preferences, and it really boils down to what I can find and afford. But to answer the question, I really do prefer to find a large Echo backpack blower, and the reason why is because I find them to be a good value. And going beyond the value aspect, I find them to be easier to take care of as far as maintenance goes, but you may not feel the same way, which is fine. I've also been asked several times as to which app I use to find all my free items, and the answer is obvious, but it seems like I don't ever really mention it. And the reason for that is also pretty obvious, and that's because free advertising for them is not on my agenda, and I think you understand why. You may have also noticed that a lot of the products I use I don't typically mention by name, and that's done for the same reason. Just to be clear, if you want to mention a product by name and websites on your video, you are more than welcome to do it. Also, the answer to that question is on your screen, and just as a tip, you're going to have to be persistent when looking for free items. Don't expect to get something each and every time you look. So the next concern has to do with two-stroke carbs, specifically with the metering diaphragms and whether or not they'll soften up with just gasoline. I didn't mention this, but about a decade ago, before I started publishing videos, I did some testing on diaphragms using several household chemicals. So basically, I gathered up all the chemicals I could from my garage or inside my house, so you should be able to imagine what those chemicals would be. But here's the problem. After letting a petrified diaphragm sit in gasoline for days, I saw no measurable amount of softening. And even if it softened by a small amount, it was not going to be enough to allow it to work like it should be. Now, if the diaphragm was not that badly petrified to begin with, then yes, using gasoline may help it to some degree. But if it's lost half of its flexibility, I don't think it can be saved with only gasoline, and you'll need to use a different product. Some of the viewers have told me that other products work even better, but all I know is that I like using the product I've been using for the last decade. As an additional concern, some have asked me if I've ever used the diaphragms that I've been able to soften up, and the answer is yes, but most times it's for the oddball diaphragms that I don't already have on hand. Now typically I carry 4 of the most common diaphragms on me, so that keeps me well covered for most carbs that I come across. So no, most times the diaphragms that I've had soaking for months I don't use, but it's nice knowing that they're there if I need them. The next concern was about the cost to repair a certain orange colored leaf blower. I could only guess that they were wanting to know if they had bought this blower if they were putting themselves in a bad financial situation. Now, since they didn't give a lot of information about the blower, I can only answer the question in general terms, which is not ideal. But generally speaking, most times the carb and the fuel lines will need to be serviced for a blower that's not been used for a long time. Now, hopefully that's the only problem with it, because after that, the ignition system rarely needs any attention, and the last thing being a damaged engine from running straight gasoline. So to answer the question, from my personal experience, no, I don't find blowers expensive to repair, but if you're not the one doing the repair and have to pay someone else to fix it, that's a different animal. The next concern is related to the previous one, but it applies to most all other projects I've worked on as well, and it's actually a lot deeper than it first seems. They were wanting to know if it was better to just sell the machine as is versus trying to fix it and then sell it. I hope you understand what I'm getting at, but if not, let's put it a different way. Say you find a free lawnmower on the curb. So would you sell it for parts as is for 30 bucks or invest 10 bucks in parts and 3 hours of your time just to sell it for $100? Now for this question, I don't think I'll be able to answer it well enough other than to say it'd be based on each individual case. If the lawnmower was in rough shape, it wouldn't be worth that much even if it was running, so selling it for parts might be the best option. But if it only needs a simple fix and on top of that a good detailing will make it look decent again, well that might be a better option. Now, even with several parts mowers on hand and all the tricks in my bag, sometimes I find myself having to ask the very same question. And you'd be surprised just how many times I've said, nah, I'll pass on this one, and then just use it for parts for a different project. Now, just to bring up an old project from over 2 years ago, I still have that mower that was quite literally broken in half. And it's gonna sit and wait until I can figure out what I can do with it because, to be kind, the mower was in rough shape when I first got it, and trying to save it was gonna take every bit of time and patience I could muster up, so it's gonna continue to wait until then. So the next concern was about someone needing a new blower because the one they had just broke. They wanted to know if there were other cheaper options to replacing it, and yet again, this would be based on your own personal situation. Now, if my blower had stopped working, I would just set it aside and pick up the other one I had on the shelf, but what if that wasn't the situation? What I would have to do is consider how the blower is going to be used. Is it for blowing leaves in the fall or for just grass clippings in the spring and summer? Now, personally for me, I would use it for both leaves and clippings, so I would need something substantial, so a medium-sized handheld blower would be my choice. But if it was just for grass clippings, then I could just get away with a quartered leaf blower, which if bought used would be extremely affordable. The other issue is that I'm not sure what kind of budget we're working with either, so that would have to be taken in consideration as well. Now, most consumers rarely need to use a large or even medium-sized backpack blower, but if you were looking into one of these, you'll need to make sure your budget is within that range. The next comment was about buying a good chainsaw, and it really did have me chuckling to myself. Now, the comment was that you should only buy commercial-grade chainsaws, and I'm going to add that anything less would be a waste of money. I don't know if you understand why I was so amused by this comment, but I'm going to rephrase it so I might make it a bit more obvious. It's as if they're saying that you should only buy the highest grade and most expensive version of any one item. That statement could apply to tools, electronics, cars, and even homes, but the problem with that kind of statement is that the cost to do something like that could be more than you've budgeted for. So yes, I'd love to have the best of the best when it comes to mowers and blowers, but if I did that, I'd have to take out a loan, which is something I'm not going to do. Buy once and cry once is a great motto, and I completely understand it. However, I'm more of a buy once and keep maintaining it to keep from crying kind of person. I'd rather buy what I can afford and then give it as much care as I'm able to, and hopefully that keeps me up and running for as long as possible. Remember, just because that machine you bought for double or even triple the price of a cheaper machine doesn't mean you can neglect it and expect it to last. You're going to have to do your part as well. The next concern came from a commenter who said they have a tough time selling the projects they've worked on because they get too attached to them. Unfortunately, I'm the same way, but I get around this fact by doing a compromise. Basically, I let myself keep 1 or 2 items a year, and all the others will need to go, but if something better comes around, I'll need to get rid of a different machine to hold on to the other one. Now, this compromise has worked quite well for me, but you're welcome to use this method or a variation of it if you're looking for ways to overcome this problem. I really do hope that I was able to clear up any concerns or questions in this video, but if you still have some, you're more than welcome to ask away. I'm pretty much open to all your questions, but for the ones I don't care to answer, well, don't worry, I'll probably give you an answer, but you might not like it. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.